What's up, Packer fans? I'm Nariah Chapek, host of Portland Packers podcast, and thank you for checking out this video. Green Bay is inching so close to clinching a playoff berth, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen on Monday night. Christian and I are about to break it all down. We're going to talk about that beautiful, decisive win against the Seattle Seahawks. So grab yourself a drink. It is time to pour ourselves another Packers podcast. So I'm out of beer. So I have, it's not apple juice. Like, oh, look at it. You got a little fancy. Look. Everyone's seeing you for the first time. I've actually witnessed this get up here for about 3 minutes. So very nice, very festive. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that the Packers are playing, this primetime game on Christmas Eve, right? Nothing to do with that. You just dress like this in December. It's kind of your daily outfit.
Pretty close to every day in December. It's basically what I wear. My closet is lined with sweaters almost exactly like this.
Victory shades and all, that's become a normal thing. We've only missed those once out of the last 10 games, so that's a beautiful thing as well.
Yeah, feels good. Feels good to have him back on. I missed him last week. Missed him.
So you ready to talk about some football? Should we talk about some Packers football?
Nariah, I am always ready to talk football. You know this.
We've been dealing with illnesses personally inside our family, so it's good to kind of step out and do some football talking. And I didn't really say what this is. This is a cognac, by the way, that I'm going to drink.
Ooh, I've never had.
I do have a backup beer for overtime, but this is, it's a pear cognac,
if you will.
For time. What did I say?
That's what you said.
Okay, good. Because I noticed when I edit these videos, I say some random shit pretty occasionally, and you just go with it half the time. So I'm not listening to myself, so please just call me out if you hear anything. But anyway, Packers offense is humming, and dare I say, I think they have found their identity. Now, Seattle, probably that's a different game if Geno Smith doesn't get hurt. They might have a little bit better chance of clawing back into it late, but especially when he went out, it was game over. But specifically with this offense, the last 4 games, Green Bay has put up 38, 30, 31, and 30 on offense. Jordan Love has 872 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He had 11 in his first 8 games. And then Josh Jacobs, 425 total yards, 8 touchdowns. You have a leading receiver in Kraft one game, Dobbs another game, Watson another game. They're spreading the ball all over the field, and they have found their identity. And that identity is Jordan Love we talked about this last week. Jordan Love is that quarterback that's going to throw 200 to 250 yards, a couple touchdowns, and the rest is just going to be run. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. I had a blast on Sunday night. It feels good to have this type of offensive firepower churning like it is.
Yeah, it really does. And I mean, I'll say it again, kind of everything's coming to fruition. I thought that after the bye, we would see a change in this Packers team, and that's what we've seen. It's second half of the year, Jordan Love, just like last year, looking good, making good decisions.
Dangerous.
Did you say dangerous?
That's a dangerous. Yeah, I did.
Dangerous for me to say that?
No, dangerous for Jordan Love to be looking the way he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were worried I was jinxing things.
No,
because I'm worried that I'm jinxing things.
No, I don't believe. I'm past the superstition phase. Not enough where I will say what I said on Sunday night on camera and put it on a YouTube, but I'm pretty good on my superstitions. I'm carry on. What you're
Anyway, yeah. So since that bye week, things have gotten right with this Packers team. You said it perfectly. The offense is humming. The defense is looking really good. And this Seahawks team, we talked about it last week. It's not like we beat up on some, bottom of the barrel team. Like, they were surging. They were on a win streak. Their defense was playing really well. They had held teams to, I think there's an average of 15.5 points or something like that over the last few weeks.
Last few weeks was actually 22 points per game is what they were holding, but the Packers put up 30, and they probably could have put up more. They didn't have a drive in the first half that didn't result in points. We'll get into they last drive here in a second, but you're right. They manhandled that defense, and specifically Josh Jacobs manhandled that defense. He was my X factor. I was really disappointed that not enough people watch this, our YouTube channel, and it's on me for maybe not making a TikTok going into our X factors where I can get a couple more eyes on it. But when they gave the ball to Jacobs, they must have started the first 10 plays, 12 plays was either handoffs or tosses to Jacobs.
Yeah, I've noticed if Jacob starts having success, they just keep giving him the ball. They keep feeding it to him. There's been, over the last few weeks, I've noticed drives where they don't even throw the ball. They're just running the ball every single play down and driving down the field. So when he gets hot, they just let him keep going, which is good. That's what you want to do. You got a guy who can get you all the way down the field by himself. Why not do that? Why risk throwing it? Why risk, something goofy happening on a pass play, like a sack or an interception or something like that? Just hand the ball off to your bell cow running back and drive down the field and score.
It's so demoralizing. They brought it up on the broadcast. Collinsworth was talking about it. It's just very demoralizing. And as Packer fans, we've felt that. We know what it's like to have a running back on the opposite team that you just can't do anything to stop them, and they just run all over you. We've lost playoff games that way. It's been heartbreaking. So for us to be able to do it to another team is extremely satisfying. I like being on that side of it much better than the side that we've been on. Jacobs finished 94 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. He had another 42-yard receivings. Circling over to Jordan Love, he started the game 17 for 18. He didn't have an incomplete pass until that missed throw in the end zone. 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 74% completion on the night, and 123.8 passer rating. It's his 5th straight game with 3-digit passer rating, with a 3-digit passer rating. And it's the first time in his career. Granted, it's a very young career, but these last 5 games, not turning over the ball, making smart moves, not throwing 500 yards, but if they decide that they're going to load the box and stop Jacobs, that he can make the throw and extend plays. And it gets me excited. It gets me real excited.
It's very exciting. And those 2 touchdowns, both of them to Dobbs. I mean, I kind of had a feeling that Dobbs would come back from this concussion and want to make a statement. He definitely did that on that first touchdown.
Yep.
And the second touchdown was just as incredible, but in a different way. That second touchdown, I thought for sure it hit the ground.
Yeah, it was live.
Watching it live, I was 90% sure it hit the ground. I didn't even get excited about it. I was like, yeah, there's no way. And then they called it a touchdown. They showed the replay. Insane. So I was kind of expecting that out of Dobbs. I used him in some of my DraftKings lineups for that because I kind of just had a feeling that Dobbs would kind of go off after being out for a couple of weeks. So that was fun to see. The biggest piece from that Seahawks game that got me excited was the pass rush. How many weeks have we talked about how lacking the pass rush has been? And whether it was Geno Smith or Sam Howell taking the snap for the Seahawks, neither of them had any time whatsoever to throw the ball. So that was exciting to see. And just the fact that we still have some of our best players injured and we're playing this well. So it's very exciting, getting hot at the right time. Still got to win some games, but on our way there.
Talking about that pass rush. So Green Bay registered 7 sacks in the game against Seattle, primarily on 4-man pass rushes. They weren't sending 6 guys, 7 guys. I saw maybe a handful where they sent a 5th person, but it was primarily a 4-man rush on these 7 sacks they registered. Devontae Wyatt finally got another sack. He had 3 sacks through the first 3 weeks, and this was his 4th one on the season. So he's been really quiet. Hopefully this is a sign that he's starting to get better or healthy and ready and coming for a playoff run. But the defense in general has registered 10 tackles for losses that kept Seattle behind the chains. And in the last 5 weeks, they've held opponents to only 18.6 points per game. So there might be signs or times throughout some of these games you're like, yeah, they give up those passes across the middle. They were doing it again on Sunday night against Seattle. I was really cognizant of the fact that they were not letting up those 40, 50-yard bombs. You're right. You brought this up a few weeks ago. Have we seen it? Say what you will. Yes, they give away 15-yard chunk plays across the middle, but they will not give up that deep pass, and we have yet to see it so far this season. So 18.6 points per game. If you take out that Detroit Lions game, they've actually only given up 14.8 points per game in their other 4 matchups. So the defense is clicking, and that's without Alexander. That's without Bullard. That's without who else? Well, Quay Walker went out with an injury.
Yeah.
So there's these pieces that are going to come back, and it's going to be good. I think the trickiest thing that Green Bay needs to navigate over the next 3 weeks is how to continue to build and stay motivated, because that number 1 seed is out. It's just not. It's not obtainable. I'm talking about not only in the NFC conference, but in the NFC North. They're either going to be a 2nd or 3rd in their division. So how do they continue to, against kind of a mediocre to bad Saints team and a bad to mediocre Bears team? They got that Vikings game in the middle, but they're not going to. How do they continue to stay motivated? That's probably my biggest worry. Is you got to stay fresh and sharp, because when those playoffs hit, it's not going to be a joke. That entire conference is stacked.
Yeah, can't play down to your competition's level. I've noticed this over the years with the Packers, more so in the Rodgers years, but there were seasons where it seemed like the team was so talented and so good, and they were beating really good teams, and then they'd play a bad team and they would play poorly. Yeah, play down to their level. And I saw it over and over again. So we can't do that. You got to just play the same game you play, no matter what team you're facing. Stick with the game plan, stick with the balanced offense that they have, stick with the 4-man pass rush without bringing blitzers. That's what I want to see. And you bring that up, that most of their pressures came without blitzing. I feel like that's the way this Hafley defense was designed. Is designed to allow just the down guys to go after the quarterback, and the rest of the defense takes care of the pass catchers. You don't have to send extra guys, which allows you to have guys out there covering receivers. But we just haven't seen that. They've had to blitz to get any sort of pressure. So we got to see that continue. And I don't know that the Seahawks offensive line, I don't know where they rank, but I don't think they're necessarily that bad with how successful the Seahawks have been this year. So I don't know what it was that this pass rush just clicked, but I got to see it continue.
A couple of players I do want to call out here before we move on. Christian Watson, 3 receptions, 56 yards. He had that tiptoe catch along the sideline. It was a good performance. Not his best, not his worst. But the biggest thing on the season, he's averaging 21 yards a catch this year. So that's incredible. He's a constant deep threat, and he has that speed. That's part of the reason why the Packers drafted him a few years ago, is that he was that speedy, long threat that you could just kind of toss the ball down there and hope he comes down with it. It's his best season he's had so far. He's maintained staying healthy. He kind of went off to the sideline a little bit on Sunday night, and there was like, okay, there goes Watson for maybe an injury, but
he got cleated.
He got cleated? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw something that he got cleated or something like that, and that's what it was. That's why he went out. It wasn't like he didn't pull anything, he didn't hurt anything, he just got cleated, I think.
So I love to see the production out of him. On the defensive side, we cannot move on without talking about rookie Edgerton Cooper. He had his best game of his career, best game of the season. He's the first Packers rookie since 1991 to make a sack and an interception in the same game. For reference, he was born in 2001. So pretty impressive. He was a missing element for sure against the Detroit Lions 2 weeks ago, that it would have been nice to have him and his speed out on the field. So glad to see him step up. And then I want to talk a little bit about Evan Williams. Not his best game. He regressed a little bit on Sunday night, had some missed tackles, blown coverages. I don't think there's any reason to sound the alarm, but it sure would be nice to have Bullard back there to maybe, add a little bit of pressure to the competition, or at least be able to substitute in if Williams is having a rocky game, to say the least. So had to call those people out. Any thoughts on any of those guys I called out?
Not much more than you already hit. Cooper played well. Williams, he had been injured for a little bit, so this was his first big game back, right, from injury.
Right. Yep.
So there might be a little rust to shake off. I wouldn't be too worried about it. But yeah, I agree. We need Bullard back. Who was it? Was it Nixon that kind of had to fill in because of Bullard missing? And there was a couple of plays where I think it was a penalty call or something like that on Nixon, just because he hasn't played there as much this year. So yeah, it'll be nice to get these guys healthy. Don't know if it'll be this week or next week or playoffs or what, but I just feel like all these guys are going to get healthy, and this Packers team is going to be even better than what the rest of the league has seen in the last few weeks. Because like we talked about, they're missing on defense. At least they're missing some of the stars. So
Yeah.
exciting to hopefully be getting some of those guys back soon.
Well, because we're on the topic of injuries and these players, so Alexander did not play against Seattle. He practiced. I kind of predicted, I think you were in the same thought process of I don't think they need to bring him back in that game against Seattle. I don't think they need to bring him back in this upcoming game against the Saints. I would like to see him come back against Minnesota and Chicago, get some games underneath his belt, and if he's good to go, play him. But having him out of the game puts Keyshawn Nixon in an awkward position where he has to play that perimeter corner, and that's not his best strong suit. So you get Alexander to play that. I think that defense, kind of that secondary, shores up a little bit. We said Quay Walker went out with an ankle injury. He's week to week. Bullard is also week to week with an ankle injury. And then when are we going to see Marshawn Lloyd? He is in the 21-day practice window. And I'm watching this Jacobs attack on Sunday night, and all I'm thinking is, man, if we can just get another guy that's fresh legs and fast and maybe take some of these snaps off of Jacobs, that would be an awesome counterpunch. Do you think we'll see him this season? Do you think he'll come back? I haven't heard anything from Matt LaFleur or Packers News on this guy.
No, I haven't really heard much either. I don't have my hopes up that we will. I feel like he would need to come back either this week or next week and get a couple of games under his belt before we see them really let him loose, because there's going to be, he hasn't played all year. It's like starting from week one. So there's going to be rust. There's going to be, I don't want to risk fumbles. I don't want to risk mistakes, because this rookie who hasn't played all year comes in and, starts getting the ball and then makes mistakes. I don't know. I don't have my hopes up that we'll see him. It may not be until next year that we really get to see what he has, but I don't know. I don't have my hopes up for it.
Yeah, it's something. I thought he played more than one game. I thought maybe he made an appearance in at least two games. But yeah, he just played the one game, had 6 attempts, 15 yards.
Well, did he come back? I think he came back, and then the very first play that he carried the ball, he got hurt again. Isn't that how it happened?
Yeah. So Indianapolis would have been week 2 of the NFL season, and he played against them and had the six attempts, 15 yards, 2.5 yards he carried, and then got hurt. Yeah. And then he went on injured reserve, came off of injured reserve, had the appendicitis.
Yep.
And then, yeah. So we don't, for a guy that we've talked about all throughout draft and training camp, and if we don't really know what he might or may not be, but I just think it'd be nice to get a better counterpunch back there than what we currently have. Nothing against the guys that have been back there, but it really seems like it's the Josh Jacobs show or bust.
Yeah.
And just a little bit more support would probably, defenses wouldn't know how to plan for it, I guess is what I'm getting at there.
Yeah, I've even watching the game myself, like if Jacobs isn't in the game, it's one of the other guys, I'd say probably like 80% of the time you can guarantee it's going to be a pass, right?
Yeah.
They're likely not going to hand it off to one of the backup guys. So when you see them in the game, defenses see the same thing. Oh, Jacobs isn't in the game. They're probably going to pass it. They do hand it off to the other guys once in a while, but it's few and far between. So it'd be nice to have a second guy that, keeps defenses guessing.
Remember that guy named AJ Dillon?
Yeah.
Just was thinking of him. Hope he's doing okay. He travels with the team. I see him on the sideline.
My sister-in-law and her fiance, they were on a little vacation in Door County, and they saw AJ Dillon there. This was maybe a month or 2 ago.
Okay.
But he was there with his wife, I think, and so I think he's doing okay.
Must be.
Yeah.
All right, before you take off those victory shades, because I don't have a lot to talk about with this New Orleans Saints matchup. I think it should be a pretty quick walk in the park on Monday night, a fun game for us all to enjoy. So before you take off those shades, a couple talking points from Sunday night. Packers fans showed up. The 12th man was not a problem in Seattle.
Had a buddy there.
You did.
Yeah. He lives in Hayward. I have no idea why he was in Seattle, but I saw pictures on Facebook. Him and his wife were at the game.
So that was cool to see that the Packers fans showed up and the noise was not a concern whatsoever. But on the Matt LaFleur side of things.
Oh boy.
Let's talk about Matt LaFleur on fourth down.
Okay.
I'll let you start because you know where my frustrations lie. Do I have reason to be, what's the word, disappointed in Matt LaFleur's fourth down tendencies?
So here's my viewpoint on it. So you and I were texting back and forth during the game, as we normally do. And I think every time the Packers got to fourth down and they didn't go for it.
Not every time.
I mean, pretty close. So Nariah wasn't very happy that the Packers didn't go for it on fourth down. I will say that I'm really starting to not like the keep the offense out there on the field, throw a couple of hard counts in there. And it's the same exact sequence. It's the same exact motion. It's clap, 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 like he's trying to get the snap off. Like I remember specifically seeing it twice in a row. It was the same exact sequence. You're not going to fool anybody if you just keep doing the same thing. Like if you keep going out there and trying to draw them off sides and then you never run a play, it's never going to work. Like you have to once in a while run a play. So I do agree with you. I do agree with you there. But my response to you when you were very upset about a few instances where the Packers didn't go for it on fourth was in this game, in the situation, it was the smart move. It was the conservative move, but it was the smart move. And it goes back to something I was talking about after that Lions game. So in the Lions game, I would have liked to see them go for it on fourth down more often because of the team that they were playing. You know how good the Lions are. You know that your defense has a hard time stopping them from scoring. So you got to take every opportunity that you possibly can. In the Seahawks game, Packers were leading. The offense was humming. The defense was playing well. You have a lot more confidence in your defense against the Seahawks than you do the Lions to get a stop and get the ball back. So I can see where Matt LaFleur's head was at in this game. Now, if it was a more high-profile game, a playoff game, yeah, I definitely want to see them go for it more often. But in this situation, I can understand going with the conservative play.
All right, so let me unpack this a little bit. So you're right. Maybe Matt LaFleur is a great coach. He's one of the top 5, top 8, 10, definitely a top 10 head coach, top 5, whatever. He's a great coach. But maybe this is like a super 40 chess long game that he's playing, right? Where he's running this putt fourth down stuff throughout the regular season, and then come playoffs, smack, I'm actually going to go for it. You're not going to see it coming. That's my hope. That's where my thought too. That's where my frustration's coming from on Sunday when I'm texting you. Is it's like, okay, I get it. They're going to win this game. They're going to take care of business. They don't need to go for it, kick the field goal, whatever. But I'm just hoping that when they get in these situations, I assume you watched that Lions and Bills shootout on Sunday afternoon. You're going to have to get aggressive. You're going to have to put up 40, 45 points a game to perhaps beat the Lions or the Eagles, or dare I say the Bills or Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Like that's going to have to be your MO because defense is a hot commodity with all these high-powered offenses that are coming up. So that's where I'm coming from, is that it's just, I hope he has it in him that when they need to call it and be aggressive, that he will do it. And it was more so, right, two things. At the end of the half, it's 1st and 3 with 4 seconds left in the game, and they go up there and it looks like they're going to go for it. All right, I'm happy. I like this. This is good. And then they do that little hut crap, call a timeout, they kick a field goal. Why not just go for it? Out of play. I don't really care what you do. Maybe it's a weird option play. Just run it up the gut. I don't really know, but they weren't in any danger of losing that game by not putting those points up. And I get it's early. Maybe a lot of things can happen the second half, but I want to see them be more aggressive in those situations. But then when they do go for it, and you will agree with me, they do this weird thing where they throw it on third down when it's third and two.
Short.
Yep. 3rd and 2. There was an incomplete pass to Reed, and now it's 4th down. They go up there. Are they actually going to hike it? They do. It's not even up the middle run. It was a counter run off to the side. And it's like, what are we doing? So
yeah,
I can't be happy one way or the other, apparently, when it comes down to Matt LaFleur on 4th down. It's just, I would like to see them over the next 3 weeks against the Saints, against the Bears, the Vikings as a more, formidable opponent. Try some shit out. You're pretty much locked into that 5th or 6th seed. Just try some shit out and see if it sticks, because I'd like to know if it's going to work in the playoffs too. And if it doesn't, scrap it all and go back to your little hut punt. I don't really care at that point.
Yeah.
I guess that's where I'm coming.
I've had that same thought too, that Matt LaFleur is playing the long game. He's just setting this all up because you said it yourself. There wasn't really any risk that we were going to lose this game at the point where we got to the 4th down situation. So there's nothing to lose by going for it, but what you do lose is showing your hand, right? Showing your best play that's guaranteed to get you 2 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards, whatever it is, to get the 1st down. So, right, maybe Matt LaFleur is just playing the long game. He knows that it didn't matter the Lions game. Maybe he knew, even if they lost that game, there's a lot of season left to get them locked into a wild card spot. So he didn't want to show his hand then either. So maybe he's just waiting. Maybe he's just waiting until they get to the playoffs, and it means way more to get a 1st down on 4th and 3. I agree. That's my hope too, is that he's just playing the long game, and in the next couple of weeks, we'll start to see it happen more. But I also agree with you that we're going to have to see it at some point, that we're going to have to see that they can do it, because
we can't have this conversation in January, because it won't be, you won't be wearing those victory shades if we're having this conversation in January.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you there. I agree with you.
Outside of that, Matt LaFleur, not very good on challenges. He is now 0-5 on the season. That might just be the NFL getting better at making the correct calls when needed. But when he throws that challenge flag, just the odds are in our favor that we will not win it. On the bright side, though, less penalties on Sunday. They had 5 for a total of 27 yards, and they were officially 2 for 4 in the red zone, but that's including that stupid field goal they kicked at the end of the first half. So they've cleaned up all our frustrations the first 8 to 10 weeks of the season. They're looking better. If we're nitpicking, it's just the concern of what Matt's going to do on 4th down, and I guess only time will tell at the end of the day. So you can remove those victory shades. We are on to the New Orleans Saints, the 5-9 New Orleans Saints. They are officially 3rd in the NFC South, and this is a team that I distinctly remember. I was up at my cabin in Hayward. It was the start of week 3. Fox NFL Morning Kickoff had this sit down with Derek Carr, and they were putting up 45 points a game the first 2 weeks, just high powered offense. Look out, here they come. And boy, have they fallen. They have won 3 games since that time. And a lot of it has to do with the Derek Carr injuries. They're not the same team that they used to be. And for all intents and purposes, they are in the playoff bubble a little bit, but they're all but eliminated. By the time the game kicks off on Monday night, with either a win by Tampa Bay or Atlanta or even Washington, they will be eliminated. So I don't know. I mean, we took up 30 minutes of Seattle Packers talk, all that good stuff, because there's really not a lot to dive into this team. This is a struggling team. They got Spencer Rattler, who's not lighting up the world by any means. He's that rookie 5th-round draft pick quarterback. He's had 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 lost fumbles, and a 73 passer rating in his 4 NFL career starts. He's not very good. And then you got Alvin Kamara, who went out of the third quarter last week with an injury. He's probably not going to play. I don't really know how New Orleans will show up and be competitive in this game, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I mean, you hit a lot of their woes. So I think their season kind of started to crumble when their top wide receiver, Chris Olave, went to IR. He was really, outside of Alvin Kamara, he was really their only other major weapon. You got Taysom Hill as well, who's their Swiss Army knife guy, but he's on IR now as well. But yeah, it just really started to crumble after the first few weeks of the season. And I think, did we have them in our top 10 power rankings early on in the season at some point? One of us?
Probably.
I know they were, if they weren't in my top 10 early in the season, they were on my mind. Like, I was considering it because of how well they played the first couple of weeks. But yeah, the season's really crumbled. Carr is weeks away from, I think that what I read was he's weeks away from even doing any sort of contact. So it's likely he's done for the season. Kamara's injury, I read that it's a adductor injury, so a groin injury. He's questionable right now. In my mind, it's unlikely he plays. Their season is all but lost. And if he's injured, I don't think that he pushes it to go. I don't think the team pushes him to go. So it's unlikely that we see Alvin Kamara. Who we will see replacing Kamara is a familiar face. Likely Jamal Williams gets some carries in Lambeau again. So that'd be a little interesting story. I'm not too concerned about it. Williams really hasn't. He had a pretty stellar season with the Lions after leaving Green Bay, but really hasn't done anything much since then. Yeah, it's pretty bleak for the Saints. Their offense is depleted and lacking. Their defense, defense isn't awful, but allowing 376 plus yards per game, allowing 22 points per game. There's not a whole lot else to say. Packers are hot right now. The Saints are not. Kind of all has the makings for a pretty decisive victory, I would say.
So, yeah, in New Orleans, they did try and mount a comeback last week. They played the Washington Commanders. They only lost that game 19-20 against a Washington Commanders team that's pretty good. They're probably a playoff team. At least they'll be fighting for that 7th seed, which is a hot commodity because the NFC North is taking up 50% of the playoff spots on the NFC side. But late fourth quarter rally, Spencer Rattler had his best game of his 4 games, but just not enough to come over that. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be a relaxing game. I imagine there's going to be a lot of Wisconsinites together with their families or close ones. You're getting ready for the anticipation of Christmas to kick off. Monday night, primetime football, Lambeau Field. Supposed to be 31 degrees with a 40% chance of snow. I think you get a nice glass of hot cocoa, put a little bit of peppermint schnapps inside that baby, just sit back and relax. And it should be, I don't see any way that the New Orleans Saints win this game. Do you even have an X factor or a key to victory in this game?
I do. I have both, actually.
Okay, let's hear them.
I have a key to victory and I picked an X factor. So you don't have anything? You don't have any keys to victory?
I have 2 things written down, but they have question marks behind them. So I'll let you go first.
Okay. Well, so here's what I had on my mind for keys to victory, X factors, whatnot. I'll just use them both. So key to victory for me, what I have written down is no dumb turnovers. What I talked about earlier, don't play down to the level of your competition. Keep playing the same Packers football that they've been playing for the last few weeks. Don't make stupid mistakes. Don't make stupid turnovers. And this game isn't even a contest. But that type of thing has happened. So that's why it's my key to victory. My X factor this week, number 10 himself. I just have a feeling like it's going to be a big Jordan Love game. Just a personal feeling. I don't have any real reason why, but I, for some reason, just feel like he's going to throw for like 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns or something like that. So
I can see that.
Jordan Love is my X factor this week. The weather kind of negates that. It's going to be cold. It's probably going to be snowing. I saw in the forecast wind gusts of up to 24 miles an hour. So with all of that, I don't necessarily see it being a Jordan Love game. Probably more Josh Jacobs, but I don't know. I just have a feeling that Jordan Love's going to go off this week for some reason.
Yeah, my question marks that I have written down for he's the victory X factors. I have Matt LaFleur question mark, and it's just to that point. Is he going to be able to keep the team focused? And it's not a trap game, and don't look past them. I think because this is a primetime game in Lambeau Field, I think you're going to get full effort from the entire Packers lineup. I think they're not looking past this game whatsoever. So that was kind of my question mark on that. And then protect the football was the other thing I wrote down. The only way that New Orleans stays in this game is that we kill ourselves. If it's an inopportune fumble, sack fumble that gets returned for a touchdown or a block punt, or it's just something stupid that just keeps them hanging around where it's a closer game than it needs to be. But I really don't see any of that happening. So should we just talk about our score predictions? It opens up as a 13.5-point favorite. So are you above or below that point differential? Are you going to lay it out on the line, or are you going to say it's within 13 points?
No, I don't. My score prediction does not have the Saints covering.
All right. I like it.
Yeah. My score prediction does not have the Saints covering that spread. I have Packers 34, Saints 16.
There you go. And I am going to give the Packers an opportunity to cross the 40 rush mark on Monday.
Really?
So I'm going to have them Packers 41, Saints 14. I see it as an absolute throttling. It should be a throttling. This is a team that we didn't talk a lot about because they're either banged up, injured, defeated across the board. They don't have a lot of playmakers left on that roster, and a quarterback that is nothing to really fear. So Monday night, Lambeau Field, Christmas, Packers need to cross the 40th rush mark and get ready for Minnesota. Even though that's a Minnesota game that probably doesn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of rankings, I'd like to see them get ready for that game. It's a good practice game.
Yeah.
So and a playoff clinching game, mind you.
Yeah.
This should clinch us into the playoffs.
Yeah,
so there's
that's
your Christmas
important. Yep, that's important. Your score prediction. So I'll make a prediction based off of your score prediction. So if the Packers break the 40-point mark, the touchdown that gets them there, I bet is thrown or run in by Malik Willis, because the Packers are so far ahead that they've pulled Jordan Love.
I like it.
That's my prediction.
Points, I'm with you. I think Jordan Love does have a 300-yard, 3-touchdown performance, but I also think Jacobs has 100 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. So
Just because I have a feeling that it's going to be a big Jordan Love game doesn't mean that Jacobs won't have a big game either.
Well, should we head to overtime?
We got
a whole lot of football to talk about. We're going to get into like playoff scenarios,
lots of tidbits,
so many tidbits, and we might even talk about how the Bucks are nearing an NBA Cup title, because I'm wearing the Fear the Deer t-shirt. So thank you guys for checking out the content. Enjoy your Christmas. Have a Merry Christmas. Packers victory. That's our present from us to you, and we will see you probably later next week. Christmas falls on a Wednesday. We might record on Thursday. It might even be a Friday night that we record on. It's going to be a little bit weird for Christmas week. So until next time, Victory Shades are back on, and Christian and I will see you on the internet.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks for watching.